The attic smelled of dust and forgotten promises. But the glint of my mother's jewelry box caught my breath. I was 30, sifting through her things a year after her death, when I realized her treasures, her sapphire ring, her emerald pendant were gone. My mother-in-law, Evelyn, had called them junk and sold them without a word, leaving my heart shattered and my rage burning. I knelt on the creaky floorboards, clutching an empty velvet box that once held Mom's favorite sapphire ring. She'd worn it every day, a gift from my father before he left us when I was 5. It wasn't just jewelry. It was her strength, her story, her love for me etched in every facet. I'd moved into my husband David's family home after Mom's passing, hoping for comfort. But Evelyn's cold dismissal of my grief had driven a wedge between us. Old trinkets. She'd sneered when I asked about the jewelry. I sold them to a pawn shop. You're welcome. Her words stung like a slap, and the betrayal cut deeper than I could bear. David, ever the peacemaker, tried to calm me. Mom didn't mean it. Sarah, she's just practical. Practical. Stealing my mother's legacy wasn't practical, it was cruel. I stormed out of the house, my mind racing. The pawn shop was my only lead. I drove through the rain, the wipers slashing like my thoughts. The shop was a dingy hole in the wall, its neon sign flickering. The owner, a gruff man in his 50s, barely looked up. Yeah, I bought some jewelry from an older lady. Sold it already to a collector. Good stuff. Actually, my stomach dropped. Good stuff. Evelyn had no idea what she'd thrown away. I demanded the collector's name. Martin Hale, he said, scribbling an address. Rich guy? Into rare antiques. My hands trembled as I took the paper. This wasn't over. I'd find Mom's jewelry, no matter what it took. That night, I lay awake, David snoring softly beside me. I couldn't let this go. Evelyn had crossed a line, and I'd make her see what she'd done. But how? The jewelry was gone, scattered to someone who might never understand its worth. Or maybe they did. Maybe that was my way in. The next morning, I called Martin Hale. His voice was smooth, cultured, like he belonged in a world of crystal and velvet. Yes, I purchased some remarkable pieces recently, he said. Why do you ask? I told him about Mom, about the sapphire ring she'd worn through chemo, the emerald pendant she'd saved for years to buy. His tone softened. Meet me at my gallery tomorrow, he said. Bring proof they're yours. We'll talk. Hope flickered, but so did dread. What if he wouldn't give them back? What if Evelyn's betrayal was just the start of a deeper loss? I spent the day gathering photos of Mom wearing her jewelry, her smile radiant despite her illness. Each picture was a knife to my heart, but also fuel for my resolve. David noticed my distraction. Sarah, let it go, he urged. Mom didn't know, but I couldn't. Evelyn had dismissed my mother's memory as trash, and I'd make her face the truth. At the gallery, Martin was younger than I'd expected, mid-40s. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. He studied the photos, then led me to a display case. There they were, Mom's sapphire ring, her emerald pendant, her diamond earrings, glowing under the lights. These are extraordinary, Martin said. Early 20th century craftsmanship. Worth a fortune. A fortune. My knees buckled. Evelyn had sold them for pennies, thinking they were junk. How much? I whispered. Martin's eyes gleamed. The ring alone could fetch $50. 000 at auction. The set. Easily $200. 000. I felt sick. Not because of the money, but because Evelyn had thrown away something priceless, me mother's legacy, for nothing. Martin leaned closer. I'll help you get them back, he said. But I need to know why they matter to you. I poured out the story, Mom's strength, her love, Evelyn's betrayal. He nodded. Thoughtful. Let's make this right. Together. That night, I didn't tell David about Martin. I couldn't trust him not to side with Evelyn. Instead, I planned. Martin had an idea, an auction. Not just any auction, but a public one, where Evelyn would see the true value of what she'd discarded. It was risky. Martin could keep the jewelry, or the auction could fail, but I had to try. I called Evelyn, keeping my voice steady. I found Mom's jewelry. Come to an auction tomorrow. You'll see what you sold. She laughed, dismissive. Good luck with your junk. Her arrogance fueled me. She had no idea what was coming. The auction house was a world apart from the pawn shop, a cathedral of wealth, with chandeliers casting golden light over velvet chairs. I stood at the back, my heart pounding, watching Evelyn saunter in, her designer purse swinging like a trophy. She thought this was a game, a chance to mock me further. But tonight, she'd learned the cost of her cruelty. Martin had orchestrated everything. The jewelry, Mom's sapphire ring, emerald pendant, and diamond earrings sat in a glass case on stage, glowing like captured stars. The crowd buzzed, collectors and socialites whispering about the hidden gems up for bid. I'd spent the day with Martin, proving the jewelry's provenance with Mom's photos and her handwritten will, which left everything to me. He'd agreed to return the pieces if I could buy them back. But the price was daunting. I had savings, but $200. 000. Impossible. Still, Martin's plan wasn't about me winning the auction, it was about exposing Evelyn. David sat beside me, uneasy. Sarah, what's this about? Mom's here. You're scaring me. I squeezed his hand, but my eyes stayed on Evelyn. She was chatting with a woman in pearls, oblivious to the storm coming. The auctioneer, a charismatic man with a booming voice, took the stage. Lot 17, he announced. An exquisite set of early 20th century jewelry, starting at $50. 000. Evelyn's head snapped up, her smug smile faltering. The screen behind him flashed images of Mom's jewelry. Alongside Martin's appraisal, $200. 000 minimum. Bidding began, fast and fierce. A man in a tuxedo raised his paddle. Then a woman with diamonds dripping from her ears. The price climbed $75. 000. $100. 000. $150. 000. Evelyn's face paled. She leaned toward David, whispering frantically, but I couldn't hear her. I didn't need to. Her shock was enough. The auctioneer's gavel slammed at $220. 000. Sold to a collector in the front row. The crowd applauded, but Evelyn looked like she'd been slapped. That's impossible, she stammered, gripping David's arm. Martin approached me, his expression unreadable. You didn't bid, he said quietly. I shook my head. I couldn't afford it. But she saw. He nodded, glancing at Evelyn. She's not done learning. He'd planned a second act. The buyer, a philanthropist named Clara, had agreed to meet me after the auction. Martin introduced us in a private room, where Clara, a kind-eyed woman in her 60s, held Mom's jewelry gently. Martin told me your story, she said. These belong with you. I'll sell them back for what I paid if you can raise the money. Raise $220. 000. My heart sank, but Clara's warmth gave me hope. I'll try, I said, though I had no idea how. Back home, Evelyn was waiting, her face a mask of guilt and defiance. You set me up, she hissed. You made me look like a fool. I stepped closer, my voice steady. You sold my mother's legacy. Evelyn, you called it junk. Now you know what it was worth. She flinched, but didn't apologize. David, caught between us, looked torn. Sarah, she didn't know, he said. Didn't she? I shot back. Or did she just not care? That night, I couldn't sleep. Clara's offer was a lifeline, but $220. 000 was a mountain. My job as a graphic designer paid well, but not that well. I considered loans, crowdfunding, selling my car, anything to reclaim Mom's legacy. Then David spoke up, his voice quiet. I'll help. I didn't know how much this meant to you. His support surprised me. But it wasn't enough. Evelyn's betrayal had fractured our family, and I needed more than money to fix it. I needed her to understand. The next day, I met Clara again. She suggested a fundraiser, leveraging the jewelry story to draw attention. People love a cause, she said. Your mother's strength. Your fight is compelling. I hesitated. Turning Mom's memory into a public spectacle felt wrong, but losing her jewelry forever felt worse. I agreed, and Clara connected me with a local charity that hosted galas. They were thrilled to help, especially after hearing about the auction's drama. This could go viral, their director said, eyes gleaming. I didn't want fame, I wanted Mom's jewelry back. But maybe this was the way. The charity gala was a whirlwind of lights, music, and hope. I stood on a small stage, clutching a photo of Mom wearing her sapphire ring, her smile brighter than the chandeliers above. Telling her story to a room of strangers felt raw, but their gasps and tears told me it mattered. My mother's jewelry isn't just gems, I said, my voice breaking. It's her love, her fight. I'm here to bring it home. The fundraiser had been Clara's idea, but I'd poured my heart into it. Invitations went out to local philanthropists, collectors, and even the press. Thanks to the charity's connections, Martin helped, too, lending his gallery's prestige to the event. The goal was $220, 000 to buy back Mom's jewelry. But I dreamed bigger, to honor her memory with every dollar raised. Evelyn hadn't come, despite my invitation. David said she was embarrassed, but I knew better. She was avoiding the truth. Donors pledged generously $5,000 here, $10, 000 there. A local jeweler offered to match contributions up to $50, 000, inspired by Mom's story. By midnight, we'd raised $180, 000. It was miraculous, but still short. Clara, radiant in a silver gown, pulled me aside. You're close, she said. I'll give you time to find the rest. Her faith in me was overwhelming, but so was the pressure. I had a month to raise $40, 000, or the jewelry would stay hers. Back home, tension simmered. Evelyn avoided me, but I caught her watching me with something like guilt. David, torn between us, tried to mediate. She feels awful. Sarah, can't you talk to her? I shook my head. She needs to apologize first. But Evelyn's pride was ironclad. Instead, she left passive-aggressive notes. Don't expect me to grovel. I ignored them, focusing on the fundraiser. Social media buzzed with Mom's story, thanks to a viral post from the charity. Strangers donated, shared, and sent messages of support. Your mom sounds amazing. One read, keep fighting. I cried reading it, feeling Mom's presence. A week later, Martin called with news. Clara's reconsidering. He said, she might donate the jewelry outright if you can prove its emotional value to the community. Prove it. I'd already bared my soul. But Martin had an idea, a public exhibit of Mom's jewelry, paired with her story, to show its impact. The charity loved it, and we planned a display at Martin's gallery. I spent days writing captions about Mom's life, her courage through cancer, her love for me, the jewelry she cherished. Each word was a tribute, but also a plea. The exhibit drew crowds. People left flowers, notes, even donations. One woman, a cancer survivor, hugged me, tears in her eyes. Your mom's story saved me today, she said. I was floored. This wasn't just about jewelry, Anna Maria, it was about Mom's legacy touching lives. David came, too, his eyes soft with pride. I didn't get it before, he admitted. I do now. But Evelyn stayed away, her absence louder than words. I wondered if she'd ever face what she'd done. By the exhibit's end, We'd raised another $30. 000. Only $10. 000 left. Clara visited, moved by the display. You're building something bigger than yourself, she said. I'll lower the price to $200. 000. You've earned it. I nearly collapsed with gratitude. But $10. 000 was still a gap, and time was running out. I turned to David. Will you help me ask her? I meant Evelyn. He hesitated, then nodded. She owes you that much. We confronted Evelyn that night. She sat stiffly, her lips tight. I didn't know, she said finally, her voice small. I thought it was worthless. I wanted to scream, but I stayed calm. It was my mother's. You had no right. For the first time, she looked broken. I'll pay the $10. 000. She whispered. I blinked, stunned. Was this her apology? Or just a way to save face? Either way, it was a start. Evelyn's promise to pay $10. 000 felt like a crack in her armor. But I didn't trust it. She'd hurt me too deeply, and her words lacked the weight of a true apology. Still, it was enough to secure Mom's jewelry. Clara accepted the funds $190. 000 from the fundraiser. $10. 000 from Evelyn and handed me the velvet box with Mom's sapphire ring, emerald pendant, and diamond earrings. Holding them again, I felt Mom's warmth, her strength, as if she were standing beside me. The moment was bittersweet. David hugged me, tears in his eyes, but Evelyn stayed distant, her face a mask of resentment and shame. I did what you wanted, she said curtly. Are we done? Done. I wanted to laugh. This wasn't about money, it was about respect, about honoring my mother. But I nodded, clutching the box. We're done. For now. I knew this wasn't the end of our rift, but I had what mattered most. I wore Mom's sapphire ring to the charity's thank you event, a small gathering to celebrate the fundraiser's success. The ring felt like an anchor, grounding me in her love. Guests congratulated me, their warmth a stark contrast to Evelyn's coldness. Clara was there, her smile radiant. You've done your mother proud, she said, squeezing my hand. I thanked her, but my mind was on Evelyn. She hadn't come, despite the invitation. Her absence spoke volumes. David noticed my distraction. Give her time, he said softly. She's struggling. Struggling. I wanted to snap that she'd brought this on herself, but I held back. Instead, I focused on the future. The fundraiser had raised extra funds, and the charity suggested creating a scholarship in Mom's name for cancer patients' families. The idea felt right. Mom's legacy could live on, helping others the way she'd always helped me. I threw myself into planning, meeting with the charity to outline the program. It was exhausting but fulfilling, a way to channel my grief into something good. Meanwhile, tension at home grew. Evelyn avoided me, but her passive-aggressive jabs continued. Snide comments about wasting money on the fundraiser, or how I'd humiliated her. David tried to mediate, but I could see the strain on him. She's my mom, Sarah, he said one night, his voice breaking. Can't you try to forgive her? Forgive her? The thought choked me. She'd sold Mom's jewelry without a second thought, dismissed my pain, and even now refused to apologize. I can't, I said. Not yet. The scholarship launch was a bright spot. We held it at Martin's Gallery, with Mom's jewelry on display as a symbol of her legacy. I spoke about her courage, her love, and how the scholarship would support families facing cancer. The crowd was moved, some wiping tears. Clara donated an additional $5. 000, and Martin offered to host future events. I felt Mom's presence, guiding me, but Evelyn's absence stung. David said she'd had plans, but I knew she couldn't face me or the truth. After the launch, I visited Mom's grave, wearing her ring. I told her about the scholarship, the auction, everything. I got your jewelry back, I whispered, tears falling. I hope you're proud. The wind stirred, soft and warm, like her embrace. Back home, Evelyn was waiting. I heard about the scholarship. She said stiffly, "It's nice. Nice." I bit back my anger. "It's for Mom," I said. "Something you wouldn't understand." Her eyes flickered with something guilt. Maybe, but she said nothing. That night, I dreamed of Mom, her smile as bright as her sapphire ring. I woke with a new resolve. I'd protect her legacy, no matter what. Evelyn's payment had helped, but it didn't erase her betrayal. I'd keep her at a distance until she truly understood. David, caught in the middle, deserved better, but so did I. The jewelry was back, but the fight for Mom's memory was far from over. The scholarship in Mom's name began to change lives. The first recipient, a young woman named Lily whose mother was battling cancer, wrote me a letter that left me in tears. "Your mom's story gives me hope," she wrote. "Thank you for keeping her light alive." Each word felt like a hug from Mom, a reminder that her legacy was growing stronger. But at home, the air was thick with unspoken words, and Evelyn's silence was louder than ever. I wore Mom's emerald pendant daily now, a quiet rebellion against Evelyn's dismissal of her treasures. David noticed, his eyes softening each time he saw it. "It suits you," he said one morning, but his voice carried a weight. He was still torn, trying to bridge the gap between his mother and me. I wanted to ease his pain, but Evelyn's refusal to apologize kept the wound fresh. She'd paid the $10, but it felt like a transaction, not remorse. One afternoon, Clara called with an idea. "The scholarship's getting attention," she said. "Why not share your story at a national conference for cancer support charities? It could inspire more funding." The thought of speaking to hundreds terrified me, but Mom's courage pushed me forward. I agreed, preparing a speech about her life, her jewelry, and the betrayal that nearly stole it all. Martin helped, offering photos from the exhibit to display. "You're not just telling her story," he said. "You're telling yours." The conference was in a sleek city hotel, packed with advocates and survivors. I stood at the podium, Mom's pendant warm against my chest, and poured out my heart. I spoke of her battle, her love, and how Evelyn's actions had nearly erased her memory. The audience was riveted, some crying, others nodding. When I mentioned the auction and Evelyn's shock, a ripple of gasps spread through the room. "Her legacy isn't in the jewelry's price," I finished. "It's in what it means to us." The applause was deafening, and I felt Mom's pride. Back home, the conference speech went viral online. Local news picked it up, and suddenly, Mom's story was everywhere. Donations poured in, pushing the scholarship fund past $300. But the attention also reached Evelyn. She cornered me in the kitchen, her face flushed. "You told the world I'm a monster," she snapped. "How dare you?" I met her gaze, unflinching. "I told the truth. You sold my mother's jewelry. You called it junk." She opened her mouth, then closed it, her eyes glistening. For the first time, I saw cracks in her pride. David overheard, his face pale. "Mom, is that true?" he asked. Evelyn's silence was her answer. He turned to me, his voice low. "I didn't know it was this bad." I nodded, my throat tight. "I need you to see it. David. All of it." He reached for my hand, and for the first time, I felt he was fully with me. Evelyn left the room, her shoulders slumped. I didn't follow. She needed to face herself first. The next day, a package arrived, a small box with a note in Evelyn's handwriting. I found this in storage. It read, inside was a locket Mom had worn as a girl, one I thought was lost forever. My hands shook as I opened it, revealing a tiny photo of Mom and me, laughing. No apology, just the locket. It was something, but not enough. I showed it to David, who sighed. "She's trying. Sarah." I nodded, but my heart wasn't ready to forgive. Not yet. The scholarship grew, and so did my resolve. I planned more events, inspired by Lily's letter and the conference's impact. Mom's jewelry wasn't just mine. Anna Maria, it was a symbol of hope for others. But Evelyn's gesture with the locket lingered. Was it guilt, manipulation, or a step toward redemption? I didn't know, but I'd keep pushing forward. For Mom and for me. The locket changed something in me. Holding it, I saw Mom's face, young, joyful, before cancer stole her light. Evelyn's gesture wasn't an apology, but it was a crack in the wall between us. I wore the locket alongside her pendant, a quiet reminder of what I'd fought for. But forgiveness, that was a bridge too far, and I wasn't sure I'd ever cross it. The scholarship was thriving, with 3 more recipients chosen, each with stories that echoed Mom's strength. I met them at a small ceremony, their gratitude overwhelming. Lily, the first recipient, hugged me tightly. "Your mom's saving us," she whispered. I smiled, but my heart ached. Mom was gone, but her legacy was alive, and I'd protect it fiercely. Clara and Martin attended, too, their support unwavering. "You're building something extraordinary," Martin said. I nodded, but my thoughts drifted to Evelyn. She hadn't reached out since the locket. David was trying harder now, attending scholarship events and standing by me. "I talked to Mom," he said one night. "She's struggling with what she did." I wanted to believe him, but Evelyn's silence spoke louder than his words. Still, I agreed to a family dinner. Neutral ground, David called it. I wasn't hopeful, but I'd try for him. The dinner was tense, Evelyn picking at her food, avoiding my eyes. Finally, she spoke. "I didn't know what those pieces meant," she said, her voice low. "I thought I was helping, clearing clutter." Clutter. My jaw tightened, but David squeezed my hand, urging me to listen. I kept the locket because it seemed personal. She continued. "I should have asked you." It was the closest she'd come to an apology, but it felt hollow. "You called it junk," I said, my voice steady. "You sold my mother's memory without a thought." Evelyn flinched, her eyes wet. "I was wrong," she whispered. The words hung in the air, fragile but real. David looked hopeful, but I wasn't ready to let her off. "I need time," I said, leaving the table. Her admission was a start, but trust was a long way off. The scholarship's success kept me grounded. A national charity reached out, wanting to partner and expand the program. I flew to their headquarters, wearing Mom's ring and locket, and pitched Mom's story as a model for others. They were inspired, offering funds to take the scholarship nationwide. It was a dream come true, but it also meant more work, more time away from home, from David, from Evelyn's unresolved guilt. I didn't mind. The distance felt necessary. When I returned, Evelyn was waiting. She'd come to the house, alone, holding a small journal. "This was your mother's," she said, handing it to me. "I found it with the locket." I read it. My heart stopped. Mom's journal. I hadn't known it existed. I opened it, seeing her handwriting recipes, dreams, notes about me. Tears fell as I read her words. "Sarah is my jewel, brighter than any ring." Evelyn watched, her face soft. "I didn't understand," she said. "I'm sorry." This time, her voice broke, and I saw real remorse. I wanted to stay angry, but Mom's words softened me. "Thank you," I said, clutching the journal. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a step. David hugged us both, relief in his eyes. The rift wasn't healed, but it was smaller. The jewelry, the scholarship, Mom's journal, they were all pieces of her, and I'd keep them safe. Evelyn's apology was late, but it was real. Maybe, in time, we'd find peace. The journal became my sanctuary. Each page was a piece of Mom, her hopes, her fears, her love for me woven into every word. I read it nightly, tracing her handwriting, feeling her closer than ever. The scholarship was now national, helping dozens of families. And Mom's jewelry, her ring, pendant, earrings, and locket sat in a display at home, a shrine to her strength. But Evelyn's apology lingered, a fragile thread in our fractured family. David and I were stronger, his support unwavering. He'd stood up to Evelyn, pushing her to face her mistake. "She's changed," he told me one evening, as we planned a scholarship gala. I wasn't sure I believed him, but her actions, the locket, the journal showed effort. I agreed to another dinner, this time at our house. Evelyn arrived, quieter than before, her usual bravado gone. "I want to help with the scholarship," she said, surprising me. "If you'll let me." I hesitated. Letting her in felt risky, but Mom's journal had softened my edges. She'd written about forgiveness, about second chances. "Okay," I said finally, "but it's on my terms." Evelyn nodded, her eyes grateful. She started small, donating to the gala, sharing Mom's story with her friends. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The gala was a triumph, raising enough to fund 10 more scholarships. Evelyn spoke briefly, her voice trembling as she praised Mom's legacy. The crowd applauded, and I felt a flicker of respect. Months later, the scholarship was thriving, and so was I. The pain of Evelyn's betrayal hadn't vanished, but it was lighter. She and I weren't close, but we were civil, even kind at times. David called it a miracle, but I called it time. Mom's jewelry was back where it belonged, and her journal was my guide. At the next gala, I wore her sapphire ring and spoke about her love, her strength, and the journey to reclaim her legacy. The crowd stood, clapping, and I saw Evelyn in the back, tears in her eyes. Driving home, I felt peace. Mom's memory was alive, not just in her jewelry, but in the lives we were changing. Evelyn's collapse at the auction felt like a lifetime ago, replaced by her slow, imperfect redemption. I didn't know if I'd ever fully forgive her, but I didn't need to. Mom's love was enough, sparkling brighter than any gem.